So whatever you have done now in ZBrush, you can just go, I mean, if you don't want to save it, if you want to save it, of course, go to Save As, save it as a ZTL file, which is ZBrush tool, and you will have it. But if you don't want to save it, it's your choice. You go to Lightbox now, and we open again the Dynamesh sphere. And ZBrush will ask us, do you want to save the project because it's not saved? We say no, thank you. Or we say yes, and we save it. It's up to you. But we have this. Let's move it a little bit like this and see it. Now we have first, I didn't talk about the perspective. So perspective on is when we have the orange, the button is orange, perspective on, and perspective off is when it's kind of like the other buttons, it's off. And then the floor, we can turn it on and off. Most of the time I work with the floor turned off, and perspective, in the beginning it's good to be off. So perspective off, floor off, and we are off to go. Maybe in your case you will not have symmetry in the beginning. If you don't have symmetry, we go to X, press X, so we have kind of a two dots, and we are ready to go. If you don't have two dots, you're not ready to go. So press X to have symmetry. Then we have to start from somewhere. We start with the move brush. Very important. So move brush is our go-to brush in the beginning. In the beginning, we kind of shape our head with the move brush. Especially we zoom out with Alt click, release Alt, and just drag up. We zoom out, and with the big move brush we can make very fast changes to the shape of our head, a future head. It's not a head yet. So how to select the move brush? I'm now on move brush, but yeah, we have to select. So B to select the brushes, M to select brushes starting with M, and then V is the move brush, or just click on the move brush. And now we have the move brush. Very nice. We can go and increase the draw size from here, or use the bracket keys, by the way. The bracket keys, I like to use them. So we use them and we drag the sides. Make sure this guy here, if you're using ZBrush above 2020, the ZBrush 2021 I think has this guy. So I think maybe 2020 also has it, but before that we don't have this guy. But this guy is showing us where we are kind of heading, in what direction. So I like to see him face to face and then start making our face. I'm just dragging with my tablet. Of course you can drag with the mouse and just rotate, kind of flatten a little bit the head, move it here, move it from here. We can zoom in, move it, and here it will be good to have our high polish brush. It's kind of very important to be able to save quickly between the brushes, not to change quickly the brushes, which in the default ZBrush interface it's not very nice, because we have to press B, H, and then P to have the high polish brush, and then we can kind of high polish the sides, high polish the bottom here so it's flatter, and we can kind of make this head shape a little bit. In the beginning it's not a head shape, it's a helmet shape. I like to start from a helmet shape. So I like to go back to my move brush now. So B, M, V, move brush. So many people that are kind of teaching ZBrush, they're not kind of teaching, they're teaching ZBrush, and they're good teachers. They will say that you have to learn those kind of a 3-letter shortcuts to the brushes. I say this is not good. I mean, yeah, with the bracket keys I make it smaller and then continue. In my opinion, it's much easier to just make your own shortcuts. And I make shortcuts which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the keyboard. So 1 is my standard brush, 2 is my clay tubes brush, 3 is pinch brush, 4 is move, high polish, inflate. You see the shortcuts here, and the brushes are changing in this area. So 1 standard, clay tubes, pinch, move, high polish, inflate damn standard brushes. So this will make in some next or the next video, maybe we'll see. But for now, we use the standard ZBrush so you can see how bad it is. Yeah, by the way, this is the move brush now. I'm just moving very kind of cautiously, making the jawline little by little, just moving. Yeah, you have to take your time. This is sculpting. This is not drawing. This is not like, let's make Picasso. No, it's just, yeah. So now, in this case, we have a lot of polygons. And in the beginning, we don't need these polygons. It's very important, by the way. Pay attention. It's very important in the beginning to have less polygons so we cannot go into details. Also, we can smooth. Because, for example, if I do something stupid like this, for example, I have to smooth it to make it right, but it's very difficult to smooth with the smooth brush, which is the shift with every brush. Just press shift, hold it, and drag to smooth, but it's not smoothing because there are a lot of polygons. So how to make the polygons less? We go to Dynamesh. By the way, Dynamesh is pretty important, so we will get to it right away. Dynamesh is in the geometry menu, which is under the subtool menu. So subtool menu, and then we close it and open the geometry menu, which is in the tool menu. Everything is in the tool menu for now. Then we go to Dynamesh. We find it. It's like in the beginning here, in the middle, Dynamesh. And if Dynamesh is not pressed, by the way, if you choose Dynamesh sphere, Dynamesh will be pressed. But if it's not pressed, you just change the resolution. I suggest like 40 in the beginning is fine for the default sphere, because yeah, 40 for a small object will be very super low poly. For a big object, 40 can be very high poly. But for our default sphere, 40 is fine, and then press Dynamesh. And you see how we have a lot less polygons, a lot bigger polygons. And this is how we want to start in the beginning. It's very important to not go into detail in the beginning, to make our main shapes, because the base is very important. When you build a house, if you build it on a very weak base, it will be blown away by the first strong wind. I mean, you have to build your base. And the base is built by making our kind of a shape with a lot of polygons. So now, less polygons. And now if I, for example, make some move like this, I just move it and it's not good. Yeah, I can control Z, of course, but I can also smooth. I can smooth it. Then I will go with the standard brush and just drag over it and then smooth again, and it will be okay. But if you have a lot of polygons, you cannot do that. So one of the most common mistakes I see in beginners, they start with a very high Dynamesh resolution. 128 is very high for the default ZBrush sphere. So I always go down. It's very important. Now, we kind of rotate our head to see it from the bottom. We make a mask in here. How to make a mask? Good question. Thank you for that question. So, to make a mask, we go to the object, press Ctrl, and you see when we press Ctrl, our cursor changes. And it says plus mask. If we press Alt, it will say minus mask. But if we drag with the minus mask, nothing will happen. But with Ctrl pressed, we drag with our left mouse button or with the pen, and we have this kind of a circle and mask at some point. Just dragging and rotating, and we'll have this. And this will be amazing. Now, what we need to do is invert the mask. How to invert the mask? Important also. To invert the mask, just Control click outside the object. Control click, Control click, Control click. This will invert the mask, which will be very useful. I think we can also press Control I. Excuse me, in Photoshop also Control I is inverting the mask. So it's absolutely normal, you can invert the mask in this way. So when we have masked everything, except for this part that we masked previously, but now we inverted it, we can go from the side view and snap with Shift. You see? And now we have to turn on our pivot. How? With W, not pivot, the gizmo. the gizmo is turned with W. So now with this gizmo, we can just drag one of these white corners here, drag it down and backward a little bit, and then you will have your neck. You see? So just whatever the pivot is, it doesn't matter if it's here or here, you just drag this and it will be okay. So how do I move the pivot, by the way, independently of the object? Because if you start moving it, you will move like this and you will make the neck a little bit like crunchy. I will alt drag. When you hover this kind of arrow, you can say, and alt click, you see this this padlock. It opens. It unlocks the pivot and we can move it with alt. Very useful, by the way. So I put my pivot in here, or it will stay in there, and I just drag by this kind of white arrow, and it goes like this. And now I can rotate my object, see it from all sides. I'm happy with my neck, and I can just press Q, or here draw. I was in move, I can press Q to go to draw, and then you see when you hover some kind of interface elements, you can see their shortcuts. Move, W, draw pointer, Q. So Q and W are very, very easy because they are here in the left. Yeah, in this case, in your case, it's not left in my when you see me in the camera, but it's in the left. It's very close to my hand when I'm pressing Alt Shift and Control. By the way, almost everything in ZBrush is with Alt, Shift or Control. So bear that in mind. So I will now have to clear the mask. How to clear the mask? Very good question. Control and drag a mask outside the object. Don't go into the object itself, just drag it outside and drop it. Just a little mask, just a tiny mask, drag it and drop it. And the mask will disappear. Now I'll smooth with Shift these areas. I will rotate, smooth, and I will have this kind of a neck shape. Make sure, by the way, let's go to our move brush, BMV. Let's make it bigger with the bracket keys, like in Photoshop. And then let's move this a little bit inward. Move this outer. So make sure that your shape, your head shape is like rounded on top. And then it's the widest point is in here, above the ears. The ears will be in the middle. So above the ears, and then it goes gradually down and also make it's kind of a shrinks. Because it's a female character. If it's male, it can be different, but for female it's like this. So now, let's find the ear. Where will be the ear? Let's go from the side view, Shift, snap it on the side view, without perspective, make sure it's without perspective. And then I can go again to my move brush, BMV, make it bigger with the bracket keys, and push this a little bit upward. I think it will be nice. Yes, pretty nice. This like this. It will be more dynamic to make this. Okay, then what else? I make sure I make my brush smaller. And if you're wondering how to select the mask brush, it's with almost every brush. Just press Ctrl and just draw on the object. If you want to make another type of mask, you can start outside the object and make a square mask like this, for example. If you want, you may want. Control drag and just erase the mask. By the way, you see, control dragging the mask outside the object also is dynameshing it. So this dynamesh here. If we want, for example, horns, we will go and just pull this, and you see the polygons are stretching like hell. It's not useful. We go to draw polyframe to see the polygons from here, or Shift F. But Shift F is, yeah, Shift F is also a valuable option. But you see, when you hover over the button, you see Shift F. Draw polyframe, Shift F. So it's easy to see the shortcuts. So now we see the polygons are very stretched here. So I just make a mask outside the object and just drop it. Just very little and drop it. And you see the polygons are now perfect because this is Dynamesh. Dynamesh has been kind of imported into ZBrush, not imported, but it was introduced in ZBrush like few years ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was revolutionary. Before that, it was kind of difficult to make some things, because if you kind of want to make horns like this, you have to stretch geometry and then you have to add polygons to just mask it. It was awful. Nowadays, amazing. Now we can go to our move brush. We are on the move brush, and we can just kind of move a little bit from here, from there. It flattens the horns, but it's normal. The move brush is doing that. So yeah, but if we want horns, if we don't want horns, of course we can Control Z a couple of times and we will go back. By the way, make sure that you know that, make sure, I will tell you, this line in here is the undo history. Now we have 205 undo levels, and we can go back to almost to the sphere. Almost to the sphere. But we'll go back to this point just before we make the horns. We will disable our mask, and ZBrush will ask us, because we are way back, we have a lot of history levels in front of us when we make the horns and everything. It will ask us, it will remove those 31 history. I said okay. And now we don't have the mask, we don't have the history, it's perfect. We can make the ear. Where will be the ear, by the way? When we snap our shot with shift, just dragging and holding shift up, and it will snap to the side, we can kind of see in the middle of the skull, from this area to the front, in the middle will be where we put our ear, but in the middle back, the ear will be, because here will be the ear hole in the middle, and then the ear will be back from the ear hole. So make sure your mask is from the middle backward a little bit. Then we invert the mask, Control click outside the object, or Control I also. Invert the mask, so we have everything masked except for this. Then we go to the move brush, BMV, and then we move like this. You see, I'm moving it, so I'm not moving it like this, no. I'm moving it a little bit backward, and you see, moving with the move brush, and then I can invert the mask again, and then move also this with the move brush like this. And we have kind of ears. We don't care about the form of the ears now and everything, we just need those polygons to be there. Because in ZBrush you can do everything from everything. You can do from sphere, you can do a sword. From a sword you can do a giraffe. It's very, very easy. I mean, it's not a problem. You just have to have something like a base, and then you can do everything. So I will kind of get rid of my mask. I don't need it anymore, so I will Control drag with the move brush, make it smaller a little bit to be able to gently kind of fix the ear shape. And then I have to select my standard brush. So I go to B, S, J in my opinion, in my case, and I will Alt drag to make this kind of hole. And then again I need BMV for the move brush, and I continue to move it. So you see, I need to constantly change between the brushes to be able to make something. So it's very difficult to do it with those kind of a 3 letters shortcuts. I think some people are doing it, but yeah, B, S, J for standard brush. I'm making these muscles here, digging with Alt, smoothing with Shift. Smoothing is very important. I would not smooth the ear, by the way, because I will lose the shape. So I'll leave it like this, and probably even, since this is pretty thin in here, I will go to my inflate brush. So B, I, and find the inflate brush, inflate, it's here, N, B-I-N. And I will just tiny bit inflate, just drag a little bit here and inflate the sides of the ear. And now I can make a Dynamesh. But since this is a pretty low poly, the Dynamesh is kind of connecting those areas, so I will go to Dynamesh here, which is in the Geometry tab, and I will increase the resolution to 64, for example. Let's try it. Okay, 64 is nice. And this is kind of our head.